I'm not normally a big AI supporter. Suzanne, I always curse. Oh, she's cursing. I'm not a big AI supporter, guys. I think it has its uses. I think most of the uses that we're using it for are really dumb. I think we should be using it for things like curing cancer, for dealing with climate change, for, helping with societal issues, things like that. But if there is one place that I can get in full support of, it is the use of it to bring Christopher Hitchens back. And if we could do it with George Carlin as well, I would be pretty excited. So I just wanted to get this channel for you guys. This is a channel. It's about the same size as my channel, just a little bit bigger. So you guys know I like to talk about channels that are smaller. This channel is Christopher Hitchens Resurrection. And it is Christopher Hitchens, who is one of my favorite guys of all time. I love me some Christopher Hitchens. And he has one that, the reason I know about this channel is he posted about this guy going off on Joe Rogan, right? And it was absolutely amazing. And then I saw this one, which is the UN speech from Trump and him going off on it. And I was like, we have to watch this. So I have not seen this yet. You guys are going to watch this for the first time with me. So let's check it out.
The United Nations General Assembly has witnessed many degrading spectacles in its 8 decades of existence. Khrushchev's shoe-banging, Gaddafi's 2-hour ramblings about Switzerland, Ahmadinejad's Holocaust denials, but nothing quite prepared the world's diplomats for the sight of Donald Trump blaming a broken teleprompter for his inability to form coherent sentences, as if the presence or absence of scrolling text could make any difference to a man who speaks like someone translating their own thoughts from a language that doesn't exist. Here was the
Do you guys remember too? I thought it was a whole thing. I thought Trump didn't need teleprompters, man. Remember, Joe Biden sucks because Joe Biden needs a teleprompter. Turns out Donald Trump needs teleprompters.
President of the United States standing before representatives of every nation on earth, opening his address by complaining about the escalator and making jokes about his wife's physical fitness.
He's just like them. He said it, and we were so wrong.
I love the poorly educated.
He's just like them. Dude, and you guys like how Jesse Waters threatened to bomb the UN because that was an attempted assassination of Donald Trump using the escalator.
Transforming what should have been a moment of international diplomacy into something resembling a drunk wedding toast delivered by an uncle everyone wishes had stayed home. The speech itself, and I use the word generously, as one might describe the noises made by farm animals as conversation, was a masterclass in how to humiliate your nation while genuinely believing you're demonstrating its greatness. Trump claimed to have ended 7 wars in 7 months, wars that most international observers hadn't realized were happening, including apparently a 36-year conflict that would have had to start before some of the countries involved even existed in their current form. He spoke of ending the war between Kosovo and Serbia, apparently unaware that this conflict ended in 1999.
Oh, hell yeah, brother. I claim that one too. If you guys don't know, I've actually ended a lot of wars. I've ended a lot of wars, guys.
He was still pretending to be a businessman rather than playing one on television. But the mathematics of mendacity reached its apex when he claimed that in 8 months he had secured $17 trillion in investment into the United States, compared to less than $1 trillion under Biden's entire
which was, I believe, fucking Biden had 1.6 or 1.7 trillion dollars returned to the economy by the end of his 4 years.
4 years, 17
trillion. Numbers are not their friends.
I love the poorly educated.
$1 trillion, more than 3/4 of America's entire GDP,
too,
more than the combined GDP of Japan, Germany, and the United Kingdom, apparently materialized because Trump said so. Even the delegates from nations where reality is treated as a bourgeois concept looked uncomfortable at this level of fabrication. It's one thing to lie, it's another to lie so preposterously that you insult the intelligence of people who've sat through presentations by North Korean trade representatives. The climate change portion of the speech deserves special recognition as perhaps the most concentrated display of aggressive ignorance ever delivered from that podium.
Aggressive ignorance. Very nice. I say aggressively gullible. Aggressive ignorance is actually... No, they're both true. They're both aggressively gullible and aggressively ignorant because they seek out, like, well, okay, so in both ways, I guess they don't seek it out. Aggressively ignorant, they aggressively avoid the information, but aggressively gullible, they actively seek out to be taken advantage of. That's what I'm going with.
Trump, with the confidence of someone who thinks ice cubes disprove global warming, declared climate change the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, apparently forgetting he was standing in a building surrounded by water that's risen measurably since the UN's founding. He mocked...
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water.
The carbon footprint as a hoax made up by people with evil intentions, while boasting about clean, beautiful coal, a phrase that makes as much sense as dry, refreshing water. His evidence against climate science was that Obama flew in an airplane, as if the existence of air travel somehow negates atmospheric physics.
Somebody the other day on my Joe Rogan video goes, "That's why Obama has mansions in Florida." It's like, I don't think you guys understand how rich people work. I mean, I know you don't, because you guys don't think that Trump is a billionaire that doesn't give a shit about you, which is 100% true. But, like, how is that an argument against climate change that, like, they have throwaway money, dog? Like, you should recognize that that means that they 100% have so much fucking money that they don't give a shit if the fucking ocean rises up and swallows their mansions. Oh, my God.
By this logic, doctors who get sick prove medicine doesn't work, and Trump's multiple bankruptcies prove capitalism is a failure, though actually, that last one might have some merit. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the leader of the world's second largest carbon emitter explained that wind turbines are pathetic and start to rust and rot, as if coal plants are immortal monuments that require no maintenance and produce nothing but prosperity and rainbow-scented emissions.
Dude, Donald Trump believes that shit, though. Like I said, you guys go back to the white genocide. You go back to the African president coming over and talking to Trump, and he had those papers in his hand, and the African dude was trying to say, like, we can come together as countries and we can do these trade deals and it's going to be great for both our countries. And Trump's like, first we have to talk about the white genocide. And he's got the papers in his hands and he shows it to him. And he's like, look, this is like the proof. And he's like, that's the war-torn Congo. That's not us, dog. And Trump's like, don't care. They gave me these these papers prove it's true. Like, I don't think that Trump, like, he doesn't know. He doesn't understand the machinations of what makes a coal mine work. Like, Donald Trump is also aggressively ignorant. There is information surrounding the working of coal mines that he could actively pursue. And he is dodging that shit like fucking Superman does kryptonite, okay? Like, he does not want, I don't even know. Nope, I just know it produces all the energy. It's so amazing. They work without any type of maintenance. The man goes down, the energy comes up. It's kind of amazing.
The immigration rhetoric was precisely what you'd expect from a man who thinks compassion is a character flaw and cruelty is a leadership strategy. He stood there, in a building dedicated to international cooperation, in a city built by immigrants, in a nation that exists because of immigration, and declared that accepting refugees was destroying Western civilization. He cited prison statistics from European nations, 72% foreign nationals in Swiss prisons, without mentioning that Switzerland counts anyone without Swiss citizenship as foreign, including EU residents who've lived there for decades, or that the actual crime rate among immigrants is lower than among native-born citizens, or that his statistics were simply wrong. The description of Washington, D.C. as having transformed in 12 days from crime capital of America to a place where your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you and nothing's going to happen.
Rest in peace, pickleballs.
Would be hilarious if it weren't so sinister. The vision of women walking down the middle of streets, not sidewalks apparently, but the middle of streets.
He's kind of an old-timey person, like the word groceries.
As a metric of urban safety, reveals a mind that thinks about cities the way a child thinks about dinosaurs, as exciting fantasies with no connection to reality. The claim that he'd removed 1,700 career criminals from DC in 12 days means he was arresting 141 people per day, which would be impressive if it were true, terrifying if it were true and they were actually criminals, and typically Trumpian in that it's neither true nor even plausibly false. It's just sounds that emerge from his mouth like methane from a swamp. But perhaps the most revealing moment came when he complained about the United Nations itself, launching into a bizarre reminiscence about bidding to renovate the UN building decades ago, promising marble...
Okay, all right. Now I know why Trump hates the UN. Okay. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Dude, he is the pettiest person that has ever lived. Donald Trump hates the UN because they didn't accept his bid. That's it, isn't it? This is seriously the dumbest fucking timeline that has ever existed. Oh my God. Get me off of this planet.
Floors instead of terrazzo, mahogany instead of plastic, still bitter after all these years that his offer was rejected. Here is a man so fundamentally narcissistic that he cannot address the United Nations without making it about a real estate deal he lost in the 1990s. He stood at the podium where Churchill spoke, where Mandela spoke, where Kennedy spoke, and he talked about floor surfaces and cost overruns like a contractor padding an invoice. The threat to Brazil was delivered with the diplomatic finesse of a mafia protection racket. Brazil is doing poorly and will continue to do poorly. They can only do well when they're working with us. Without us, they will fail. He mentioned meeting Brazil's leader for 39 seconds in the hallway, claiming they had excellent chemistry in those 39.
He's a narcissist. He thinks every interaction he has with people is amazing. He's like, man, that guy really liked me. I didn't like him so much, but he really liked me.
9 seconds. Then immediately threatened his nation with destruction. This is diplomacy as understood by someone who learned about international relations from The Godfather, if The Godfather had been written by someone with traumatic brain injury. The section about Europe's green energy policies read like someone criticizing a diet while eating their 4th Big Mac of the day. Trump, whose understanding of energy policy extends to drill, baby, drill, warned European nations that wind farms were destroying their beautiful countryside while promoting coal, as if coal mines are known for their aesthetic enhancement of landscapes. He claimed Europe loses 175,000 people yearly to heat deaths because electricity is too expensive for air conditioning, a statistic he appears to have invented with the same creative process that...
I was like, where did he get those numbers from? Dude, and I said this the other day when we were talking about the transgender violence statistics that edgier than thou, the person that made the debunking of the graph, when they were talking about the statistics and stuff and how this was all based off of 2 cases, and one of the cases the person wasn't even transgender, nor were they even non-binary. I was like, but it doesn't matter. Like, these people, they just hear the words that come out of Donald Trump's mouth. And look, I would like to sit here and tell you guys that the people that are listening to him, like, all of them are stupid. All of them are dumb. All of them are morons. But I know for a fact that certain people that I have either had relationships or former relationships with, family and friends, believe the shit that he says, and they're only like legit stupid when it comes to Donald Trump. And I think that's strictly because they recognize that this guy is going to do the most fucked up things that they've ever wanted a president to do. That he's going to follow through with all the dumbest shit that in their fucking brains they thought with their zero fucking experience were going to be great ideas that were going to save this country. You know, these are the men that tell women about abortion. These are the MAGA Trump supporter types that tell doctors about vaccines. These are the same people that tell scientists that have been studying the climate for 40 years that they watched a YouTube video or they saw Joe Rogan talk to a scientist and now they know more about it than the scientist does. These people generally, in my opinion, are fucking morons. But not always. And I do think that the reason that they do this is because he makes them feel smarter. And he makes them feel like he's going to do the things that they want. And they don't care if the dude lies. They don't care if he makes shit up. They just want to own the liberals. They just want to be on the winning team one fucking time in their entire lives. And they are willing to sell this fucking country down the river, burn it to a crisp for just feeling that deep, deep dopamine feeling of being right just fucking once. It's insane.
Gave us alternative facts, and truth isn't truth. Throughout it all, the delegates sat in what can only be described as traumatized silence, the kind of frozen disbelief you see on faces at the scene of an accident. Here was the American president talking about clean, beautiful coal, claiming to have stopped water drugs, boasting about sinking Venezuelan boats with military force, and declaring that he's really good at predicting things because he had a best-selling hat that said Trump was right about everything. It was like watching someone have a psychological breakdown while insisting they're giving a TED talk.
That's too spot on. That is too spot on. What if, guys? What if Trump is like a much dumber reincarnation of Nostradamus? Because they both obviously are suffering from edema. Well, Nostradamus not suffering so much from it; he died from it. Trump's currently dying from it. There's a connection to be made there. There's a connection to be made there.
The conclusion, where he asked everyone to fight, fight, fight for freedom, while having just threatened multiple nations with economic destruction for disagreeing with him, was the perfect ending to this theater of the absurd. He spoke of cherishing qualities that have made each of our nations so special, immediately after explaining why most of those nations were failing because they didn't do what he said. He called for defending free speech while threatening Brazil for allowing criticism of Americans. He praised sovereignty while demanding other nations adopt his policies or face tariffs. What we witnessed wasn't a speech but a symptom, not diplomacy but dementia, not leadership but the loud, confused ramblings of a man who mistakes volume for virtue and confidence for competence. The United Nations has heard from dictators.
Symbolism over substance. I've been saying it for fucking 3 years now. Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are symbolism over substance every day of the week.
And Democrats, from revolutionaries and reactionaries, from the brilliant and the banal, but it had never before hosted someone who combined the intellectual capacity of a concussed goldfish with the diplomatic skills of a bar fight and the oratorical elegance of a seizure. This was America presenting itself to the world not as a superpower, but as a supervised patient, not as a leader, but as a liability, not as a nation, but as a nightmare from which we're all trying to wake. The assembled diplomats will return to their capitals with tales of the day the American president stood before the world and proved beyond any reasonable doubt that democracy's greatest weakness is that it occasionally produces leaders who make autocracy look tempting by comparison. They witnessed history, the moment American exceptionalism finally meant something, though not what Americans think it means. It means exceptionally degraded, exceptionally delusional, and exceptionally dangerous to the concept that humans are capable of governing themselves. The teleprompter, it turns out, was working fine. It was the president that was broken. But unlike the teleprompter, nobody knows how to fix him. And unlike the escalator that stopped halfway up, he managed to make it all the way to the podium to deliver this masterpiece of diplomatic vandalism. The United Nations has survived world wars, cold wars, and countless crises. Whether it can survive Donald Trump remains to be seen, though if his speech is any indication, The greater question is whether Donald Trump can survive Donald Trump, and whether America can survive being represented by someone who makes Caligula look stable and Nero look competent.
That is actually pretty fucking amazing, to be honest with you. Like I said, this guy's going to come and take my job. AI Christopher Hitchens is going to take my job. But you know what? He can have my job if he can do that. That was amazing. That was amazing. Wow. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And check out that video on the screen now.